call the meeting to order at 6:31. Recognize our incredibly important public, Steve Lembke. Thank you for
Cheers.
coming here again. Waive the rules of procedure. Ask if there are new additions to the agenda. I have one. I'm just going to make a small comment on Select Board Fiscal Management under Finance. Just a little couple of remarks. Ask if there are any changes to the agenda order. No, hearing none. We will move to approval of the regular meeting minutes of the 13th of November 2017.
Are they right here?
They are here. They have been, we had two versions in the folder. One is a set that I had edited and had some comments on. Peder accepted everything of relevance and changed them according to the.
And these are the updated ones.
So these are the updated ones that we had, that I put into them.
Yes, so in other words, what the second version
The copy.
of the minutes is
Is
what
what
we're,
approving.
Signing, that's
Yes.
correct, are approved.
okay. Are you entertaining a motion?
I am entertaining a motion
I'll provide an entertaining motion.
to,
I so move that we accept the minutes as amended.
And I will second.
and Gordon seconds, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we're gonna sign these right now so that we do not walk out of here.
That's right. And so Richard wasn't here, so he
That
can't
is correct,
sign.
he did not comment.
And you hear that I didn't.
Very appropriately, I might add.
Exactly.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Moving right along, because we have a pretty long meeting here tonight. General update, anything from Dan?
Yes, I spoke with Dan this morning. Unfortunately, he's not able to be here tonight. When the weather has been, thank you, when the weather has been warm enough, they have been doing some spot grading in various locations throughout town. And if the week continues the way it is predicted, they will continue spot grading. The other primary activity they're doing is cleaning out culverts and blowing leaves and general preparations for coming winter. And so they are very grateful for the mild weather that we've been having. It's allowing them to get things done that they have not in usual years by this point. So he said nothing special.
Excellent.
That's it.
Moving right along, the HCRS petition exemption.
So last year during the budgeting process, we had not heard that I was aware of from HCRS, and they had been funded by the town for many, many years as one of the social service agencies that the town funds. Because we did not receive an appropriations request from them, they were removed from the list, as is the practice for the town. I was contacted by them last week, wanting to know when our deadline for appropriations request is, and provide them with that information. Got into a conversation and ended up finding out that in a couple areas within the organization that they have had some staffing changes, and there seems to have been somewhere that no blame is being placed, but there was a communications breakdown sometime last fall between the town office and them. And so because the town has funded them for many, many years, they are requesting to be exempted from the petitioning process. Because they were not included on the warrant last year, that would mean by town policy that they would have to begin the petition process anew. And then they'd have to petition for 3 years. So they're requesting the select board to consider their long-standing history with the town.
I'm not understanding. The petition process is, what's the sequence of the petition
So
process?
the petition process is, so anyone who wants to be included on the town warrant for town
The
meeting
human
date,
services
Yeah, you
list,
can
okay.
answer, yeah.
at town meeting, if they have either of one of a couple situations, but if they have not received funding from the town in the previous year, that they have to petition town residents. It's not to approve the funding, but it's simply they have to receive Signatures from a minimum of 5% of registered town voters to be included on the warrant.
But what's the time frame? Because they're saying they don't have time to do it. That's what I'm not understanding.
Well, they didn't explicitly say they don't have time, but they are requesting, because they've been a longstanding organization funded by the town, and because of internal things that they were dealing with last year in this communication breakdown between them and the town, they are asking.
But does that mean they can't?
See, maybe I can explain this. So if you have not previously been on the warrant, the article, then you must petition the town 3 years in a row, and then going forward, you are on the, you are considered on the, you can just submit your appropriations request.
Oh, after 3 years.
After
But that was
petition
never
passed.
submitted.
They did not submit an appropriations request
Right.
last year. They had
Correct.
already been approved year after year after year.
Right.
And so it was just a lapse in the appropriations request, not in the overall petitioning process, but they had satisfied beforehand.
I get it.
So
And so
they're
they don't
asking
want to
that
wait
we
another 3
exempt them.
years
Right.
to get back on.
Well, it
Yeah.
also costs them
Time, they have to-
time and resources to petition in the town.
I served on a board where this happened, and the board had to resubmit for 3 years in Guilford to get back on the approved list. So,
A Guilford board did?
excuse me?
A Guilford board had to,
Yeah, I mean, it had to be redone in Guilford to be approved because they had a similar situation happen to them.
Do we have the authority to make an exemption?
You
the
do.
select
we
board?
do.
I personally am not in favor of it. Only, I mean, I know they have a long-standing history, but the rule's the rule, and I feel maybe incorrectly that we have this for a reason, and without understanding, I mean, if it was just, I wish I could understand why it wasn't submitted a little clearer, personally.
The information I have, I'm not going to share because it's secondhand knowledge.
Right, that's fine.
And so I don't want to put anything out there that I don't know to be true.
Fair enough.
I wish I could have a clearer explanation than what I've given.
I don't think it's hugely burdensome it's a commitment, but it's not hugely burdensome. I think probably all of us here the select board members have probably trundled these petitions around for our various causes. And one thing that will happen if they have to do the petition is likely they won't forget to submit their request on time again, because they'll have that connection.
Again, I don't know if it's that they forgot. Like I said, I only have.
Well, it doesn't make any
It
difference.
doesn't matter. I mean,
That
we
doesn't
didn't
matter.
submit it,
It's
I
whether
guess
we
it's
think
the
that there should be an
net,
exemption
so.
granted. And my problem is, my first problem was that why couldn't they do the petition? Because but now that their problem is they don't want to wait 3 years to get.
No, they'll get funding if they get enough signatures on their
Oh,
petition.
They have to go through the
then I
process.
think they need to go through the
Again.
process. I wouldn't vote for an exemption.
So, what I'm understanding is that the answer is no, we don't need to take a vote.
Okay.
It's just that they put we're not gonna
Sure.
approve an exemption, so.
All I said is I would
Yep.
address
fair
the
enough.
board with a question and made no promises. so.
Was that the way you were coming out?
Yes,
Miranda?
Yeah.
I was part of the whole development of the human service list. And, the voters had a lot of concerns about what agencies were on that list. And we used to have people come and give a spiel about each one. And it was a form of respect.
And they still do to the town meeting.
Yeah.
I think that somebody will get up and speak about it, but it's just part of a kind of commitment to go through that process.
Okay,
Exactly.
thank you all for considering this.
Did you have a thought about it,
I
Sheila?
was mildly in favor of it, but I don't have a strong.
We swayed you.
You did? So we don't have a motion.
No.
They have
No.
to follow the procedure, so.
Yeah.
The next thing on the agenda is the commission updates, and at the beginning of every, of our select board year, we agreed to invite different commissions to come and update us. And so we have, in the month of December, Peter will invite two commissions to come and do a short presentation for like 10 minutes about what has been happening and what they're intending to do. So we'll have two for each meeting in December. Just very,
May I ask a question?
yes.
Will those be at our work sessions or
No, the
at the
regular
actual?
select board
Okay.
meetings, just to kind of report to the town.
No,
It's a
I
good
think
thing.
it's
What's going
excellent.
on. And I do know, at one of those meetings, I think we're gonna talk a little bit longer with the planning commission about communications in town, because they've been really looking into this topic, and I gave them a document that I will prepare, I'll send around to everybody else, and it's just about sort of looking at communications townwide from the big perspective. What's the vision? What are objectives? What are our legal obligations? What are the challenges? How can we do, so there's a whole lot of questions to ask around communications that are more than just how do we get information out. And so we may do more than a 10-minute update. I'll probably invite Michelle and Thayer or whoever's working with them on that topic in the planning commission to be working jointly with the select board and maybe other committees to have a little bit of a more extensive discussion on that. So I just wanted to say that. Any questions about that?
No.
Peter's just going to be scheduling those things. The next item of business is the Greenburg Associates draft floor plan. And I know that we all got,
Right.
did you get one too, Richard?
I did not. I saw it on.
You may share my copy.
Thank you very much. You're a generous man.
So I'll tell you what I understand from this, which is that this far left thing here, this 8-foot long thing is in a new addition, right?
That is correct. It's
Okay,
going to be a
it's a north
total
addition.
of 185 square feet.
Is
So,
that here?
yeah.
That-
And
That's
that
on the
would
north end
house
of the building.
the bathroom, mechanical, and then some reorganization of the list, expansion of and reorganization of the lister space. And then you'd go from the lister's office into a smaller meeting room.
Nope. Well, it's called...
Lister's office into the small
Yes.
meeting room.
Yeah, the size and shape of the current meeting room that exists will not change. It's just, that's what they titled it.
Yeah. The lobby area is slightly reconfigured. And you'll see that the counter moves close to the front side of the building. And Penny's, the town clerk's desk is where she is, opposite the vault. And she will have a line of sight into this meeting room, and where people who come to look at deeds and other town documents would be sitting, or there would be other meetings there. The vaults are where they are, the assistant clerk and the treasurer are where they are, and this room is pretty much as is, with the exception of a proposed wall here,
Just on the other
on
side,
this side of the
To
window,
make an office.
Yes.
to make an office for Peter.
And then, in addition to that, the space underneath the stairwell would be brought back because there's about a 3-foot section that's full ceiling height, and that's space that's not being utilized.
Brought back, I don't know.
So the wall behind Richard will be brought back approximately 3 feet.
In that direction?
Nope,
I mean,
just
brought back.
here.
Oh, this way, like
That's,
here?
yep,
Okay,
exactly.
fair enough.
To utilize the space better, right there, and
Okay.
to make the room feel more spacious, and then also building some storage underneath the steps, which does not currently exist.
Okay.
The outside of the building, there's some slight changes in elevation so that you can have access to both doors, ADA access, and a little bit of grading and a more of a level landing, so that you wouldn't have to have a ramp or something. You would just it would meet specs.
Okay.
This was done with the architects in at least 2 meetings that they had
That's
here.
correct.
One primarily with Peter.
No, the first one was with Ellie, Lisa, and myself.
Okay, good.
And then there was another one in which Penny was here as well.
Okay. So, and so everybody had a chance to have input and talk about pros and cons of different things, et cetera. So, I have one reaction to this, but I would like to invite other reactions.
My only reaction is that if we create a secondary space in Peter's office, we lose a big chunk of space here. And my one issue with these meetings, when there is more than Steve Lembke here sometimes, it's crowded. Or if the Green River construction on the bridge, when we had everyone here, we can't, it's hard to sit around this table, even if it moved in that direction. So I'm not trying to take away from Peter needing a table. My feeling is if we were able to utilize Peter, if he needs an enclosed office, then that's something, that we could probably still frame out. But I think the wall would start on the other side of the windows there, in my opinion. And that if Peter wanted to meet with anyone, he could, use this area to meet. So that was my only piece that I pulled away, because I just think the space is too small if we take it
So you're
here.
saying to make the office smaller?
Yes, Peter's office would have to be smaller.
I think that's what
If
we-
I looked at this the way I just described it.
Richard, did you have any?
No, I didn't, but I think I agree with
Okay, and
Gordon.
Miranda?
Well, I guess I wasn't sure, in general, I would agree with that. I didn't know whether there was any other option for where your office could be,
Yeah.
other than in this room. Whether, there's no upstairs, right?
No.
No.
Uh-huh, and there's not gonna be an upstairs.
That is correct.
No, and so is there any, I was just thinking that in terms of your privacy,
Well-
not being interrupted.
I certainly have no lack of privacy sitting back here. That's not the question. I think the ideal situation would be to not even have my office in here, but I don't know that that's a reality.
Right, okay.
Based on the number of people that we have that work in this office on a regular basis. I think that it would be nice for people who come in to have better access to me, people who wanted to see me and not have me back in this little cave back here, but that may not be an option.
How do you feel about the office shrinking from how it's pictured here?
If that's the case, I would then, based on your question, I would be in favor of Sheila's idea and leave this room as it is. Maybe
Well, that's
Rather than making your office as
I
small
haven't,
as...
Yeah.
we have actually a second consideration. I mean,
Well, that was my next question, is do you even need it partitioned at that point?
Well, you could also,
If-
you get a partition that's office partitioning, which is, it's
Right.
movable and
Portable
shortable.
type of partitioning. I guess if I look at it just currently,
Yeah.
that's
It's
that's what it is,
large.
basically, in terms of the space. Go ahead, Sheila.
So I'm firmly opposed to a wall here or here, because it will make this room smaller,
Right.
and it will
Okay.
further isolate Peter from everything that's
Well,
going on, audibly and visually. And one of the concerns that's been voiced in connection with the review is that he is so far removed and that there's not a lot of interaction and that people sometimes don't even know that he's here. So, it's like, and then you walk in and if I can see your head in between the monitors, then I know you're here. Otherwise, they don't. And then Peter's other concern is that people will come in here for meetings. And that makes it hard for him to work when he needs, and he's under a lot of pressure. But I say you've got another meeting room that you can put people into.
Does that happen currently,
It's
Peter,
hap-
where people come in and utilize this, other than the select board?
So, if you would have asked me that 6 months ago, I would have said no. More and more people are having, particularly our various commissions, the town also allows several local organizations to use these spaces as well. So it's becoming more frequent that both meeting rooms are used at the same time, on the same day.
And I think we have a calendar where we could actually track that.
Manage,
Yeah,
yeah.
we do, and
We could control that to some
I,
But I was just curious. What
and
was,
please, I will make it very clear that if I'm on the telephone or if I'm doing other things, that if only one group is meeting, they have always been, without exception, everyone has been
Sure.
willing to meet in the other room. And sometimes they have volunteered to move in the other room because they have, are talking about sensitive topics that they don't want to get out immediately. And isn't necessarily part of my business. So it goes both ways. It's not just me and me being able to do my job, but it's them and what they need to talk about in order to accomplish their business.
So Sheila, are you suggesting that you're suggesting to leave this room the way it is, have Peter's office there just the way it is, and have people meet in a different location so
If
that he's not
Yeah, if the
disturbed?
meetings, that is one of my suggestions. My second suggestion, or my second concern, is that it is not out of the realm of possibility that in the next year or two, we might have an intern working in here, or another part-time employee along with the town administrator. And the reason for that is the job description, and it's not going to get smaller.
right.
So one of the things that I'm saying that we need as a board to consider over time is whether the job needs to be divided somewhat, or we need to figure out how to accommodate ever-increasing legal issues, financial issues, the jobs, etc. And so this space perhaps could be reconfigured for 1.5 or two full-time employees, but I would probably guess 1.5. Maybe, I don't know exactly how, if, but I think we need to keep that. If you put a wall here, that's not going to be possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so
No, I agree with
we'd
that.
have a little more, we'd take bookshelves out, we can take the copiers out. We don't really need a second coffee bar in here. So we
No,
do
that's
have a lot.
that's not going to be added.
I wrote here 2, why do we need 2?
Yeah, that was just.
So,
We
but,
spoke to the architect about that, and that's not going to be
okay,
there.
so that's,
I have a question, I completely agree with you, Sheila, about the job getting, being too large for one person and getting larger. And I was just wondering whether there was any reason to try to have, for communication and maybe solidarity, to have Peder, to have you be in an area that has that's nearer to the town clerk and assistant town clerk and treasurer.
Another option, if I can interject,
Please.
is what is now considered the second meeting room. So there's actually just up on the wall right behind Richard's head is the calendar of, all the various organizations that have come for meeting purposes in here. And as you will see, there are many days throughout the month where it's completely open. So another idea would potentially be is, since we have a scheduling mechanism for people to use the space, to use that scheduling mechanism more efficiently.
Right.
Because 2/3 of every month, neither of the spaces are used. So
Right.
is it really necessary to have 2 meeting rooms? Could the smaller meeting room be broken up into 2 pieces, having one be a workspace for attorneys and real estate agents and others who come for town clerk business and need a space to set down the various books and do the work that they do, and then the other would be an office space for the town administrator. So that way the town administrator would be out where everyone else has their offices, and be more easily accessed.
so I think those are good questions to put to the architect, that the idea of, first the question of keeping this space open and as flexible as possible so that it could accommodate an extra employee, part or full-time, or readjusting the meeting room configurations or the office assignment spaces Perhaps one way of doing that is this coffee bar does not need 4 stools and we don't need 3 chairs out there.
Yeah,
We need a couple, but.
That's just for decorative purposes.
But this is a lot of space in here for a lobby. It is 16 feet
But
by
that's also
13.
going to be a small counter space for us to have storage
No, I
and the
understand
water
that.
cooler and a sink so we can wash our dishes at lunchtime and various
Yeah,
things
no,
which we don't have.
it's a good thing to have, yeah. But then there's all this empty space here.
But that was also one of the needs that was brought up by the town clerk, that need to have at least a small space. We don't need 7 chairs out there, but for 2 to 4 people to be able to sit down, because there are moments where they are
There
that
are.
busy.
Yeah,
And whether somebody has other abilities or somebody is elderly and need to have a space to sit down while they wait, that is why he designed that place.
so I guess maybe without going into a lot more expense on, and time on the part of the architecture, the first thing that it sounds like we would do is not go with this wall, just
Sure.
to keep maximum flexibility. And the second thing is if they could come up with another possible configuration for offices and meeting areas so that to accommodate 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not counting the listers because they have their own corner. So the standard 4 people plus maybe another one. Is that?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So do you have those questions for?
Yep,
I was
will add
also
that.
just very briefly curious about how often is it that there would be 4 or 5 people in the lobby? I mean, does that happen often?
Oh, it happens every week.
Yeah, there's a lot of times there are people standing out there, sitting at the small table, the work table next to Penny. They don't go into the meeting room, usually next to the listers. Hanging out in the records room,
Changing the egress on that room would help. I think people would maybe access the conference room
yes.
more readily
Oh, I think this
based
is a
on
great,
this egress versus where it is now,
Yeah,
because you
I think
have
it
to
would.
kind of go into the listers before you go
Yep,
into
correct.
that. So at least that's the way.
no, I like this, I
Yes.
like this, the way they've done it
Right.
a lot.
But I
like your
just don't
thoughts,
want the-
And part of that change was brought through conversation with Ellie and Penny.
Yeah.
Because right now, we have a folding table propped up against the wall for people to use to do their research.
Yeah.
And that gets in Penny's space, it gets in Ellie's
Yeah.
space when they're working, and by providing easier access between the vault and a place for them to sit down and spread out their various things, just made
Okay.
more logical sense of the use of space.
Okay, so those questions go to the architect.
Yep.
Excellent.
Good conversation.
Annual fund transfer. So Peter is about to describe to us we have set aside a number of funds that once the tax revenues are in hand, that we transfer funds out to for different purposes. So this was in our folder. Most of the taxes are in, and Peter will walk us through this memo. This is just that the select board needs to authorize these transfers, which were voted on in the town budget, at town meeting.
So all of these have already been approved by the residents of the town. It's simply that, as everyone knows, that taxes have already been collected. And so this just needs, as Sheila was pointing out, select board approval to move them out of the general tax fund into each of the specific revenue places in which they reside. So the first adjusting journal entry will be out of the general tax fund into the social service agency. So this is a compilation of all of the social service agencies, also including SEVEDS, which was new last year. They were all voted on by you as residents. So that is going to be a transfer of $26,793.
Okay.
The second is going to be another category that's called transfers out and special articles. And so a little bit more information is, because that's kind of a vague
Right.
category title. So transfers out and special articles includes the Wyndham Regional Commission, the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department, the Guilford Free Library, as well as the Green River Covered Bridge Fund. The Green River Covered Bridge Fund is the fund in which the town sets aside money for the next 25 years for the next repair of the bridge. So
$12,500 a year.
that's correct, at $12,500 a year. So that will, with the new transfer amount, that will become a total of $25,000 in that fund.
Okay.
Next is the capital fund. The capital fund currently has $104,000 in it, and will be increased by an additional $225,000. So it'll be a total of $329,000 in that fund, of which you have already approved the purchase of a backhoe for the highway department.
Which is inclusive of the 225 that
Which
is
is-
being moved over, right? That
It'll
was
be
the plan.
subtracted from that.
Right, that's where that will come.
That's
from.
correct.
Okay.
So, and as we've discussed before, the capital fund has multiple purposes every year, from everything from unplanned expenses, which we'll talk about when we get to the warrants later tonight. Was an unplanned expense for the highway department, and other needs for other unexpected needs for building and grounds. For the various, for the town office, as well as for the town garage, and purchasing any necessary equipment that are one-time purchases. Next is the waterline fund. The waterline fund was the fund that was created for Elders Village for fresh water for the residents over there. And so that currently sits at $169,707. And that
Could
will,
you repeat that figure?
of course, $169,707 is the waterline fund. And with the increase, it will go up to $174,207.
69 plus 24 is more than 174.
You're right, it is. That is $194,207.
Right. And what are they going to do with that money?
That is to pay for the bond for the water line.
Oh, aren't we like 3 years out from having finished paying it?
We are.
And that's only $150,000 left.
That's correct.
So then there's going to be a fair amount of money left
And
over.
so the money that's left over can be moved into the reserve fund by motion of the select board at that time.
Okay,
We'll need to remember that.
don't
yeah.
worry.
Don't worry, that will not be forgotten. There's also the
This is
record-
all coming out of the 537,720.
That is correct.
Included in, yeah.
Yes, that's all included in that amount. Next is the Records Preservation Fund, which is a fund that was set up to enable Penny to hire an outside company to work on preserving the records, of which much of that work is done, but there's still a bit more to do. As anyone who's visited the town clerk's vault, you'll see the new records filing system that was put in a number of years ago. And slowly they are copying the old records onto new, I just blanked out on the name of the type of paper, but there's a paper.
Acid-free paper.
Yes, it's more specific than that, but it's a preservation paper. So that currently fund is currently at $6,029 and will be increased to $9,029. And then also included in there is the surplus to the reserve fund and general transfers out. Neither of those ever have any money in them. They're always budgeted at zero amount because we don't know until the end of the fiscal year if there will actually be any
Oh, I see what you're saying.
surpluses in there.
But we are not doing any transfer to the reserve fund
You have already done that.
last year.
That's correct.
And our reserve fund is in excess of the
Correct.
balance
Yep,
mandated.
I will,
Right.
yep. It's,
Except that it won't stay that way.
nope, so the reserve fund is currently at $524,570.58.
Healthy reserve fund.
Yes.
What is that number again, Peter?
It's 524, 570 and 58 cents.
What happened to that? Oh, you put $31,000
That's correct.
into the,
58
got it.
cents.
So the
doing
total,
all right.
yes, so the total for the transfers out in special articles was $530,772. And last but not least, we have a transfer to cover our highway expenses for the fiscal year, which I think are pretty self-explanatory, and that is a total of $956,653 is what the town voted on this past March.
For their budget.
So we would need a
Motion?
motion.
I'll
I
make-
so move.
Okay, go ahead, Richard.
I so move.
And I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
The only discussion, I would like to see the accounting, and not to question anything, just to understand. I know, I'd like to see it in
Yeah.
an email form. Just,
Sure.
if you could send an email, maybe we can approve this, but I'd like to see this 53772 broken down.
Yep.
You know, just the way you have it on that piece of paper or
Sure,
whatever.
I'd be happy
Very
to do that.
simply, I don't want to waste
Yeah.
your time, but
Nope,
it's
very easy.
easier
It'll,
to.
it'll take me all of 62 seconds to do that.
Okay.
I just didn't include it on the memo because this would then be this
Right,
memo
you-
goes to the treasurer so they can
Right.
remove the transactions and they don't need all the extraneous.
And I agree with that. I think for the select board, it's helpful to see that when
Sure.
we meet to discuss it. That's all in the future.
Sure.
But that would be great.
Okay,
Thank you.
I will
Okay.
put that together and send that out to all of you. So Richard moved to
And Gordon seconded.
accept.
Is there any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's right here too, Gordon, isn't it?
It's
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 what
there,
you're
those are the
asking
budget
for.
lines, but no, when
No, but
he's-
I want to see
the one that you
these.
printed out.
but it is transfers. These are the transfers out. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yep, that is correct.
235.
Yep, that is all.
255. So this is all enumerated right there.
Okay. Well, that makes sense, but then where's the 53772?
Because
That's the
that-
balance.
Because it doesn't have all of them. No,
No,
Algiers isn't on here.
The water.
I mean, I'd
Here's
have to
the
go through and pick
Algiers
them all
water
out.
line
I'm
is-
just asking you to just list
Yep.
out the ones, but
But
you
that-
are correct.
The other ones are the special articles that they're further down.
water line.
But the fire department and library are
Or
under
services to the
services
town.
to the town.
Because all of these are hitting it, it's easier for me.
Right,
to
I understand.
I just
right,
like
but
to
I'm
see it,
glad
but
to
you're
see
right.
it. I'm glad
Yes,
to see it in the formal
and
budget.
it should,
so, yeah.
it should
So-
show up there as well, Richard. You're absolutely right.
Peter has started a town funds and balances document that will give us
Yes,
the
I
type
have
of
it right
fund,
here.
all the,
Yes,
that one.
yes.
And so it will change once we have completed the fiscal year 2018 transfers. I've asked for better notes, what are the funds for, what are we likely to draw from,
Which is helpful.
and so this is gonna expand.
But this is a very useful document. I was very
Yes,
glad to see it.
I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more.
Capital needs assessment.
Oh, okay.
Responses. We had 2 responses to our request for proposal. One was from AEI Consultants from California with a satellite office in Boston, and the second was from a Criterium La Lancette Engineers out of Rutland. We were to have decided on these proposals
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and we did not, and Peter let them know that we were delayed. There was a document in our folder that Peter had
Right.
that called construction
Called,
manager notes.
Nope, not construction.
No,
manager.
not construction manager notes.
No,
Go away from
it's-
there, Sheila. CNA responses and comments.
There we go.
So I think there wasn't very much that AEI proposal slightly better, but only marginally, and that was the big
Walnut
proposal.
Creek.
Yeah,
that was,
but that's the Rutland group visited our site, and they are slightly less, like $300 less or something like that. I can't remember. And then there was a comment that the RFP said we would not pay until the end, but they wanted to have 50-50. And somebody said it seems reasonable to have that. And one person was in favor of CLE. I think I was in favor of CLE too. I can't. So I don't know that we need to have a big discussion about this. This capital needs assessment is what it is. It looks like both firms kind of understood what we want and are responding to it. It looks like the Rutland firm showed up and figured out that they could do it for
$4,000.
less.
$575 less.
Uh-huh.
Where was the, I was looking for the cost in the AEI, and I couldn't find it.
Oh, it's buried. in
Really?
the-
Was it in the executive summary somewhere, which I was
We
not in
couldn't
there?
find the executive summary.
There was no executive summary on the AEI report.
Right.
I mean,
It was way,
it was a one-page introductory letter. It was not a.
I saw the
executive
introductory letter, but that didn't have the price in
It did not. It was buried down
I
at
remember
page
going-
like 21 or something like that. You had to. I found it by typing in the search bar, fees and expenses.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
we
I
should have
typed in the wrong thing.
So do you need a motion, or?
we need a motion to accept one or the other respondents.
Well, I'd like to make a
create
motion
contract with
to
them.
accept the Rutland firm.
Is there a second?
Second.
Gordon
Criteria.
is seconding. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So just to be clear, that is by Criterium Lowland Set Engineers.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes, and it was very interesting to see just briefly, the second highway garage on the Guilford Center Road, which seems like, a building on our farm,
Greenburg Associates Contract Notes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, who made the motion in the
Uh,
second?
Richard made the
moved,
motion.
Gordon seconded.
Thank you. Sorry, I can't type quickly
No,
enough.
that's fine.
The second contract that we needed to talk about was the contract between Greenburg Associates and the town for the town office renovations. And I wanted to say about that and the construction manager draft contract that I think all of us have said we would feel more comfortable with Gabby weighing in. But Gabby has been unable to be at a meeting since September 25th.
Right.
And were she not on the board, or if she does not show up, and if she is not responding to these emails, requests, we still have to make these decisions.
Yes, that's right.
I fully support that.
Yep, we understand it.
So I'm sorry that that we can't call on her expertise, but I think that we just need to do our work and keep things moving. We are already behind in the deadlines in working with Greenburg, and that's going to maybe have some consequences down the road. So I think we just need to go ahead.
Thoroughly agree.
Thank you. Okay, so the notes pretty much summarized. I want to have Gabby's input.
No, I thought your summary was very good.
I think it's me that I would have asked for clarification of two issues. One is
right.
preparing a set of reproducible record drawings showing, they had said, showing significant changes in the work made during construction based on marked up prints, drawings, and other data furnished. It looks to me like that was going to be an additional service. I was not able to
Unclear to
really
me.
able to understand. And I think we are entitled to at least one complete set of architectural drawings electronically and hard print, without paying extra money. That we already know that we need to reference these over the years and that there are likely to be further changes, and I think these just have to belong to the town.
Do you think that's negotiable?
I don't know whether it's, what I was asking Peter to look at, and I don't know if you had a chance to do, was to consult with them on whether or not this was included in the
Included,
contract.
and we just don't understand it to be.
And so I would say we cannot approve the contract unless it is, that's one of my recommendations, is that we get that clarified and that we insist on a set of documents.
I felt the same way. I mean,
Thank you.
it was unclear to me whether, to me, it should be included in the
I
write-up.
bet it is, and it's not
I couldn't find it,
communicated well.
type thing.
So the other area where I was concerned is about our
Timeliness.
performance, timeliness.
Mhm, right.
We've
Agreed.
already seen that the select board delays decisions, and I think we need to have some understanding from Greenburg about the consequences of what is timely and what are the consequences to us, are there cost consequences, et cetera, because we need to be more responsive going forward. So I don't think that is a contract thing. I think we just need to have some
courtesy thing.
information from them on what it means. I don't know if there are any other comments on this.
What about the comment that I had about something about there was a contradiction, didn't I? Say something about the last, was it the last note?
Let me look at your email, Richard, because I don't see.
I saw it this today.
I thought you said I've looked over the contract. Is yours the
Yeah,
last?
Yeah, the last one, and then there's this last sentence.
On the whole, the contract seems to me equitable, well-balanced, and comprehensive.
Yeah, but then didn't I say something about?
Oh, let's see.
No.
To say for sure whether that should be. However, I'm not experienced enough. Okay, wait a second.
No, I guess I did.
Finding
I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think.
I don't think.
And then I only had a question. He mentions that, also under additional service, providing planning surveys, site elevations. Well, site elevations should be part of his drawings also. So
Those
I'm
are not part
confused.
of, that is part of what we will receive from the engineers. And so that is part of the engineering fees.
Okay.
And they are subcontracted by him.
Okay.
But yes, that will come from the engineers.
But we're not, okay. We're not doing a lot of site.
We do
Work.
have to do
Some,
regrading.
And the-
grading
and the
in front
septic-
and
the
the
septic.
addition or whatever we do on the.
We also have to determine what's wrong with the septic tank and,
Well, I have a feeling if
Find
that
the-
goes where the proposed building's going, there's a problem with getting a new septic system anyway, because that's gonna go right over the septic system.
no, it will not. The septic system is further out.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, I thought that tree was taking up right there.
Nope.
Gotcha.
Where the tree sits is where the line between the building and the septic system sits currently.
Okay. Because that was another piece that I had on here on the septic piece, but that
Yep.
would be covered in that discussion then as well. Okay.
About a week and a half ago, Lisa and Ellie found a drawing buried in
Okay.
the safe in here where several years ago, Pete and Lisa had found where the septic tank was. And so we provided that to the engineers, so they now know where both the septic
Right.
and the well is located.
Okay. Very
So, I think we are looking for a motion to approve the Greenburg Associates contract with the town of Guilford, assuming that that there is no extra cost for documentation, which would include architectural drawings and construction drawings and electronically and hard copy.
I had one other question on the
Oh, I'm sorry.
reimbursable, no, expenses. Do we have, other than the reimbursable expenses listed here, do you have any sense of what that would be?
So reimbursable expenses are things such as gas for meetings, to come to the town office for meetings, copies or any other such things that they'll make to provide to us, during meetings and things like that.
Where are you?
Well, I'm
He's towards the-
11.4 where it talks about reimbursable expenses, but then 10.2 is what they list as reimbursable expenses before that. So, they're using a multiple of 1.1 times the expense, so if it's for gas getting here, they're making money on the gas, so to speak. It's unclear to me. I didn't
Why are they
understand what
putting
the
a surcharge on the
reimbursable.
reimbursable?
Well, that's
I do not know.
what,
That's
but I guess I'd like clarification on what.
Where did it say? I'm sorry, I
Okay,
missed the
I'm sorry.
1.1, Gordon, so I
So
think
let's
that
start
I totally agree with
10.2,
you.
10.2.
Yeah.
Okay, this lists the reimbursable expenses that I thought they were saying are valid.
And
And maybe that's just me interpreting it. And then when you come down to here, this reimbursable expenses, for reimbursable expenses as described in section 10.2, a multiple of 1.1. So is there anything other than what's listed in 10.2, I guess is
No.
what I'm
Yes.
trying to.
That are considered other expenses?
that would be considered reimbursable
No.
expenses.
I mean, the 12.1 specifically references 10.2 and only 10.2.
Okay, so,
No, it doesn't. It says reimbursable expenses as designated in Article 12.
well, that's why it's confusing. to
So
me,
then
but-
that's kind of redundant.
I think that should be struck, because there are no, there's
There
it's
is-
not
there's
covered
nothing
in,
in
yes. So
section-
strike point
Regarding the reimbursable
Okay, I think
expenses.
that we should have the questions answered before you
Yeah.
approve this, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
Well, I just think there's, and it's not, it would just add clarification.
I mean, and for the sake of expediency, we could, once the questions are answered and I provide those answers to you, we could do an email vote on this because of the urgency of it, so he
I don't
can
see why
move
we
forward.
can't make a motion and say, depending on the answer to, contingent on
But there are
the
new-
acceptable answers.
That there are, that the we can work on this thing, but we did say the documents are as we desire, and that there are no expenses not other than those listed in 10.2.
Yep.
1 through 5, strike 6.
Okay, I can put that in the motion if that's what you wish.
Yes, I think we should make the motion. Well, let's get this
Yeah.
over.
I think we should move it
Okay.
on as well. I just think that
Okay.
we
So,
need to
Richard,
get those
are you gonna make the
clarified.
I do.
Okay,
I so move.
And I'll second it.
Thank you, Veranda.
Is there any further discussion? And I'm sorry for cutting you off. I thought you had said you had one.
No, that's, no, you were fine. You were fine. I was gonna add it.
so help me at the moment with the wording here. So you move to accept the Greenburg,
Associates
Yes.
contract
Contingent
with
on
the town of
accept-
Guilford.
well, you, sorry, you're gonna have to bear with my slowness here. Okay, with the town of Guilford,
Assuming that A, the town will have one complete set of architectural drawings. This is in the notes, including the design and the construction budget drawings electronically and in hard copy, at no cost.
No additional.
And B, that the expenses are limited to those.
Reimbursable expenses.
Reimbursable expenses are limited to those listed in 10.21, 10.2.1, 1 through 5. And that's that point 6 is struck. Richard has so moved. Veranda so seconded.
thank you.
Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Construction manager draft.
RFP.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I was looking at the right document.
Well, it's the response to the RFP, right?
Well, it's the one that's marked up, right?
Correct.
That's where I had a comment, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, I believe that is where you had a comment.
Two of us questioned the budget estimate, 225,000. And then, oh, I think this was yours. At the end of the RFP, in the paragraph about
Yes,
modifications
that's
to the
what I was talking
RFP, it states that modifications can be sent electronically. This is our statement, right?
Yes.
But the RFP itself states that electronic proposals will not be accepted.
So there's a contradiction there.
Yes.
Yes.
Does it matter? I mean, we've got the proposals.
I guess it
Oh,
does.
modifications to the contract itself?
This is, we do not have proposals. This is for the
Oh, that's right.
construction manager.
Okay, so you
This-
want him to fix the RFP?
Yes.
For
Yes.
them to fix the RFP? I'm so
Yes.
sorry.
No, it's the our RFP that I was
Yes, excellent, okay.
referring to, and our RFP has a contradiction.
That's correct. So we just need to remove
Good
the
as.
contradiction.
Okay, so do
Our
that.
RFP.
We are preparing this RFP for a construction manager,
Well,
or we are approving.
Greenburg
architect-
drafted it based off of
Oh, okay.
common language that is used for construction
Oh,
manager
because
RFPs.
I'm looking at his with the cross outs. Am I supposed to be looking at something?
We were just
else?
looking at the notes.
They were
Oh,
just
the
looking at the
notes,
notes.
okay.
And he included some items of which you all had discussed and agreed upon informally were important things to include in any RFP that the town sends out. And since this is not being sent out on behalf of Greenburg, it will be sent out on behalf of the town.
You wanted us to call it.
That's correct.
So do we want to accept modifications electronically or not?
Yes.
I think so. Okay. And then the other question that two of us brought up is the project budget, quote unquote, is estimated at $225,000. And I think we were saying, could we instead say that the budget is estimated to be between 190 and 225 and not to exceed 225,000?
That's a
Or
better way
just-
of putting it in my estimation.
And I agree. Is that what the select board, was that the number the select board
Oh, I'm sorry.
talked about somewhere
Informally, yes.
informally at a select board
When
meeting?
did we do that? I don't remember ever.
Because I don't either.
It
but-
was at a select board meeting in which one of the respondents to that
Yeah,
specific
okay,
RFP
okay.
participated. It was, and whomever of you made the comment said that it is not confirmed until you make a further decision based on numerous factors, but
Right.
it
So-
was not to exceed 225,000.
I guess I'm uncomfortable that the select board agreed that that is
I don't think
a
we-
number.
You did not agree on it. It was
Okay,
just-
but where are we pulling it out of the ceiling from then?
It was, so, as you remember, we had.
I
several
remember
meetings.
the meetings.
And so it was a question from one of the presenters.
Okay,
And somebody made I don't
Okay.
remember who, made the suggestion that it may be around 225,000,
Okay.
but the select board had not made any decisions. And I know that many, not all, but many of the respondents to our original RFP went back and watched the videos in which the other respondents participated. And not to mention that we had several sitting here at one time.
which is fine. I guess what I would like is the select board to agree as a select board on what the number we are going to invest in the new, up to, whatever the ceiling may be for the new town hall renovation.
I'd like to see a larger spread. I think $225,000 is a lot of money to spend.
I
on
don't
this
see, and
building.
that's the part I don't know. I still don't know. I don't have any grasp as to how much it's going to cost for this project.
Well,
to
you have to
do.
add that number to the Greenburg number.
Exactly.
Which
That's
is
a whole-
why he's encouraging us to use a construction manager, because bringing that individual in would enable us to determine what those expenses may be.
Actually, Gordon, he's saying the project budget, not the construction budget. The RFP says the whole entire project budget, so the construction manager would need to understand, is not to exceed 225,000, wherever that figure,
Right.
suck your thumb figure came out of, so.
And I'm not saying it's not enough, I don't know. I don't have, and I don't know if the select board hasn't agreed that, this is looking at our budget, looking at the available funds, and I haven't seen a spreadsheet that really represents that well, and that's my disconnect still, that I don't have a real comfortable number in my head, one for what it's gonna cost, and I understand the construction manager's gonna generate a lot of that, they've gotta have a target, but to me, I would like to see the accounting to demonstrate that we are in a very good financial position to support a ceiling of $225,000.
So part of what our kind of conversation with Greenburg was about was using them in this preliminary phase to come up with the budget
That's-
figure.
So do you think
That's
they
what I
are the
thought, but
people that
that's-
came?
Okay, well, that's, if that's the case, then that's an answer to the question, but I
don't
didn't
know.
hear that, so I'm
That is,
unsure.
that is what we were talking about. That's why we had this preliminary
Right.
phase with them
Right.
to work with what the budget is actually going to be.
Correct.
And we wanted their input
Right,
in the spreadsheet that you're looking for.
Yep. And we were gonna see, based on their input, do we have to stagger this process?
Right.
And, do a
We were gonna talk
first
about
meet-
the phases
Right,
with them too.
so I guess I'm still in that disconnect, and I don't,
Well, we also talked several times about how much money is in the reserve fund that is in excess of the town policy.
Which has to get out of there.
And that number is, with the new amount that you guys that was a surplus remaining from last year, that amount is now 194,000 in some minor change.
Not the reserve fund, the capital fund.
No, that is the reserve fund.
The reserve fund is $555,000.
That's correct. And
it's
Oh,
over.
190 over, okay,
it's
I'm sorry.
194,000
Over,
in excess
of where it should be,
where it should
the
be.
maximum.
And then in addition to that, the capital fund this year was funded $25,000 more than it has been for
Mhm.
previous years.
So, but Gordon's point is, we don't have an estimate, a rough estimate of costs that has been presented to us, and a time, we've asked to work these things out with Greenburg, right? We've said to them that we want to, in this process, work out, and so perhaps what I'm hearing is that this construction manager, to put out a figure like this, is premature, because
Well,
we
to
don't
me
know
it
yet.
We don't need the
We-
figure in there.
I think you're right.
But I don't think a construction man, I don't know, I mean, I don't know this
So
business
I mean,
at all, so.
two things need to happen, as I understand it, from Greenburg and Associates. One is we need to have at least initial approval of their draft plans, because if we scratch all the ideas on there or half the ideas on there, that's going to change the cost of the proposed plans at the moment. So, so that's one step. So in order to be able to figure out what the cost is, they need to know a starting point.
Right, but we
So-
still have to go back to them, right? Because we have some questions about the plan.
That's correct.
They have the one plan that we have seen,
That's correct.
so.
So they've said to new siding, roofing, windows, additional insulation, bringing the building into compliance with energy code, a handicap toilet room, mechanical room and storage, minor modifications to interior walls and doors, 2 custom cabinet units, new lighting, added outlets, data ports, and an upgraded HVAC system, new exterior accessible
Okay, that's where it
walkways.
came from.
The project budget is estimated at $225. So I believe that figure comes from
Okay, well, it does.
Greenburg. Right
there.
And I think, I'm gonna go back to what I said before, we need to say the project budget is estimated, is not to exceed.
Yeah, personally, I don't think a range needs it, but I think say
I don't
not
even
to
know if we
exceed.
need-
Yeah, I go for not to exceed. But, yeah,
And then the construction manager is meant to get us, as I understand it, the best deal
That is correct.
on putting this together. The construction manager is the sort of professional implementer,
Mhm.
That's
is
correct.
what I'm
Yep,
understanding.
that is correct.
And the reason I suggested a range was because 190 to 225, it gives like $35,000 worth of leeway, or, maybe it should be 175 to 225, but with not to exceed 225, just so that people understand that we are looking at cost efficiencies here.
Right.
And so that's why I would like to see a
okay, I
range
would go for a range.
in here.
I
But I
think it's
mean,
healthy,
throughout-
I don't see there's any harm in it.
No,
Throughout the entire discussion that you've had, though, you've made it utterly clear in front of the camera that you are doing your best effort to make, the wisest and least expensive choices.
Yeah,
Oh.
but still, I
Well,
think,
I mean, we're trying to be foresightful about the changing responsibilities of a town office, and also to give the best value for our taxpayers' money.
Right.
When I think about when this building was built and what responsibilities the entire town office had toward the citizens, it's changed exponentially. And so we have to be looking at both of those things, and what's the trajectory, like how much more how much more action is going to be going on in the town office between when this renovation happens and the next time
Right.
the town looks at it.
Mhm.
I would like to get this done,
Yeah.
so I don't think we should delay this any further.
So I think we can approve the contract as drafted with the addition that we would say the project budget is estimated to be between 175 and 225,000, not to exceed 225,000. And with the correction that modifications can be sent electronically.
Yep.
Okay, so do we
Steve?
need,
Did you want?
Is there a time limit as well as a monetary limit? Not to exceed.
That will be in the project, I'm assuming that's gonna be in the project budget, and, I'm sorry, phasing. It's premature to do that. This is a request for a proposal
But
to
it's
find
some-
construction
some
manager.
person wants to have a six-year
Yes.
project.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
Are we motioning on
I
this?
think maybe Miranda just moved, or
Yeah.
so moved,
I
I
did.
second.
and Richard is seconding. It's here, it's in the notes, you can get, the project budget is estimated to be
Okay,
two,
that's fine.
and then the
Right.
electric modifications. Okay.
So Richard moved and
No,
Brandon,
Miranda
Miranda
moved,
moved, and I
Richard
seconded.
I apologize.
for a change?
And all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, I said aye too. I'm gonna say aye. Next on the agenda is the Wyndham Solid Waste Management District Information Session, which will be, first of all, it's gonna be on November 29th, this Wednesday, starting around 7:30. Steve has an ambitious 2-hour agenda. Hour and a half with the public and 2 hours for select board members and other people to gather in advance of people getting there. This select board statement was drafted as we agreed at the last meeting for people's approval. And I think we just need to say that it's okay or not.
Yeah. Oh, Richard, here, you never got this. This is the frequently asked questions.
Oh, thanks.
But Steve will talk about that
Yeah.
later. This is just
No,
about.
no, he was missing.
I might have a.
Oh, wait, I'm talking about the wrong thing.
You
I'm
are.
so sorry.
You
I'm
want to talk
talking-
about the Wyndham
I want
Solid
to talk
Waste.
about the Wyndham Solid
Yeah.
Waste.
Right.
I'm so sorry, I apologize.
And maybe I had a disconnect on this.
Yeah.
I thought we were moving the Wyndham Solid Waste meeting away from Steve's meeting completely. Did I?
It's
no.
following Steve.
It is
It's
following
gonna
it, so
be-
I saw that in Steve's notes, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
And let me, where is that
I
thing?
don't
I put that in, oh, here, the information sheet on waste management. And this was just
I have a copy of that.
Which
for all
is
of
very
you.
good, yeah. No,
So-
I thought that laid it out well.
laid out.
Here.
So we've had this experience in town of 6 months without recycling facilities, access to recycling. You either have to have your self-hauler or you have to
Right.
self-haul. And so the question was, some time ago, do we need to withdraw from the Wyndham Solid Waste
Right.
Management District or should the town stay in? And this little piece, so the purpose of Wednesday night's question is to say to people, what's your experience so far? Is there anything you want the select board to know? We're not gonna make a decision, we just need to see if people have any concerns. And this is to share information with them.
So Sheila, let me just be understanding this. Are we going to hand out copies of this to everybody, or are we going to have a visual
No, we
thing
can
and
give
go
this
through it?
a little handout to
Okay.
people saying, and Bob Spencer said he's gonna be there.
Oh,
He's actually
okay.
very interested in your meeting, but he's also in
Who's
Vernon,
Bob
he's
Spencer?
doing something with planning and
He's the
economic
executive
development in Vernon.
Director of
So
the
he's gonna
Wyndham
sit through the
Solid
whole
Waste.
meeting and then be there to answer questions if people have. And I said to him, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of queries about this, and I'm not sure anybody's gonna come to ask about this, but if they are, here's some, people can walk away with some information. Peter will be prepared to answer questions.
Is someone taking notes?
Peter will take notes, but somebody needs to present this at the beginning of the meeting, to present Steve, and then to present, the people who are coming, and then to say, is anybody here to talk about, to give us some feedback on your experiences with the situation in town regarding solid waste disposal and recycling this year? And if there is, you could say, we have this information sheet, the select board is trying to figure out if we should be part of Wyndham Solid Waste Management District or not. doesn't seem like there's a compelling reason to exit, but we want to know what people feel, and this will probably come before town meeting in March, because this is probably not a select board decision.
No, I agree.
So let me just be clear. Steve sent excellent notes about the overview of the meeting, and so what
His meeting.
Well, he also
Well, no, he
nicely
sent-
included
he sent an
notes about this
email
meeting
that
as well.
has the overview
Right.
of
Oh, I have that.
right of how we want to orient the public about what's going to happen that evening. And so are we going to talk about, just whoever is doing the introducing, is that person going to say, and we have this information sheet that,
We could, I mean, Steve suggested, I think very correctly, we'd like to see just a show of
the
hands.
show of hands?
And at that time, you could make sure every single
Okay.
show of hand that showed up, that came for, or wants to stay for this piece or was interested in it, I guess we could give it to them.
Well, I have no problem with being the select board introducer, but I feel as if I don't have any strength.
I don't think we
in
need
the-
to talk about
okay.
this. I think we need to say, this is information. If you have questions, let us know. We'll get as much information as we can.
So then
This is
in
what
that
we know
case-
to date.
What I would suggest is that we just let Steve go through, his handout information, and then when this meeting is supposed to take place, excluding a show of hands, we can do the show of hands.
Right.
But when his meeting adjourns, and then we're gonna talk about this, then we could hand this out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it that way.
But do you think that we have to be prepared to mediate? I think
don't
there
know.
might be,
It
there
could
might be
be.
a necessity to
But
facilitate.
what we are doing is, what we are doing
I can
is
think of a few
soliciting
people.
questions and information on experiences year to date. We are not opining
For this,
for this,
yeah,
yeah.
this is on experience year to date, is what you're
So
saying.
in
And
my
it's an
email to people
informational.
this weekend, I
Right.
said, we are asking public meeting participants, who among them is also interested in Guilford's membership in the Wind and Solid Waste. We're gonna say that there is an information sheet here. We're going to introduce Bob Spencer at the end, and we're gonna solicit questions and information on experiences year to date with no access to recycling bins in Brattleboro, Vernon, and take notes. That's the whole purpose, like it should.
Right, but I'm saying that I would expect that there would be a need to mediate conversation, because I think that some residents of Guilford are going to jump up and be angry.
About this?
Yes, about the solid waste and
But
issue.
that's their opinion. They can
Yeah.
be angry and let us know. We're not gonna resolve anything. It is what it is this year. It does cost us what it costs us. We have the access to the services that we
No,
have.
and we made the decision as a select board to get rid of the MRF. Didn't we?
Right, but
So
that's,
that's
we
what
no.
you're referring to, is a
No, that's-
recycling piece?
Yeah, I just think that this is an issue that people are very interested
Yeah,
in,
I-
and that
Good.
it's that you're going to you want to say, I want to hear what you have to say, and when you say I want to hear what you have to say, I want to hear your questions, that people are going to start. The potential is for people in the room to get up and say, I think this and I think that, and someone else to say, well, you're wrong about that, and it could end up being rather.
Well, maybe that's what you could do. You could be
You can
the
be
air
the,
traffic
yeah.
controller.
The mediator.
It could be, but it could be that in any meeting.
You're not there.
Right,
I'm
I'm
not
just
there,
saying
I'm
that
not
we
there.
need, so we need to be prepared for that, so whoever is,
We would like to appoint you to take this on, Richard.
I think that we can, just circle back.
Yeah.
The goal of this is not to make a decision.
The goal of
It's
this is for the
information.
select board to.
Everyone's voice is important to be heard, and we want, as a select board, want to understand the issues from this.
And people are going to be
Residents.
tired by then, because the floodplains information is really intellectually consuming. It takes
Understood.
thinking.
so once somebody could say, we must be all tired now, why don't we think about this, solid waste management, and send us your questions and answers.
Steve,
I think we have to be a little on our game that night to make sudden changes in the event that 300 people show up,
mm-hmm.
okay? or 3 people show up,
Yeah.
and they're all Wyndham Solid Waste Management
Right.
questions, okay? I'm not saying that either of those two are logical, I mean, are reasonable
Mhm.
Right.
estimates, but they could be.
Yeah.
They could be.
So what we have to do, and that's why I asked at 5:30, that the select board
Yep.
members who are
Yep.
there,
Right.
as well as A&R and others, sort of not greet people, at the door and say, friend of the bride or friend of the groom,
Right.
Right.
Wyndham Solid, over here. But we need to sort of chat with people a
Right.
little bit to
Just
say,
get a sense.
can I show you a map that has the watershed? What for? I'm here for the garbage. Okay, so we need to sort those out. And before
Right.
6 o'clock goes ding, ding, ding,
Right.
we need to huddle, we need to caucus outside and say, what do we got? Is this a crowd that's all here for Wyndham Solid Waste? Is it all for this? What's Bob Spencer gonna do at the end? If you introduce Bob Spencer
Right,
here,
I mean-
that means Bob Spencer's gotta stand and deliver at the end, something. You can't just say, I'm Bob Spencer and walk out, because
No, he
people-
Did we
said he-
tell him that? mean,
I did. I said to him, this is simply to solicit information, and he said he was there to answer questions if there were questions.
Oh, okay. If there were
But the real
questions.
question is, do you want Bob Spencer does one want Bob Spencer to be identified as being there? Or does he just sit in the back as Bob Spencer to answer a particular question and stand up on his own and say, I'm Bob Spencer and I can answer that question? But if
No, he should
if
be
you address
introduced.
it as Bob Spencer is here, that means, in my mind, that Bob Spencer at 7:31 is going to stand up and talk about Wyndham Solid
Yeah,
Waste.
I don't, we are not inviting Bob Spencer to do that. So just so you know that. I mean,
No,
I
and that's
can
why.
elaborate on this a little bit tomorrow, but I think the set of questions that I sent, the purpose of this, I'm hoping it will take 15 or 20 minutes. At
And
the
you'll
end
be
of
in the
meeting.
Rockies.
I will,
Okay.
but I had that long planned. So- Okay, so we're thinking.
And we
that
want you
we're-
to have a good time.
Thank you. Budget workshops.
So as
So
discussed,
wait, the 3 of you are gonna be there for sure?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great.
that's
I'm
so
sorry.
glad to hear that.
Steve, did you hear that?
I did.
Good.
And I also heard that Veranda is going to be.
I'll
Yes,
be
she'll be the
happy to be
introducer.
the starter person.
Okay. And you and I need to coordinate.
And Richard's
No,
the
we
mediator.
will
So we don't step on
certainly.
each other's messages.
I have
And
no
I'm bringing a
message
gun.
except for the boilerplate that I've been given with a few nice phrases to go with it.
And I will once again communicate with Spencer and just say to him, just so you know.
Right.
Yeah, this isn't a.
Yeah,
Don't make a McGill out of it.
okay. Good. Budget workshops.
So as discussed at the last select board meeting, I have scheduled 4 select board budget workshops. This happens every year for the select board to hear information from various groups in town requesting funding, as well as just to overall discuss the status of the budget and what changes may need.
And that's what you sent out.
That's
right?
correct.
Okay.
So
So
these
we're
budget
good.
workshops will occur on December 6th and 18th, as well as January 4th and 11th. All of these meetings will be warned and posted
Good.
like any other meeting
Yep.
in the 4 locations throughout town. As well as these are all public and open
Mhm.
meetings, and residents are welcome to attend should they choose to do so.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Lembke,
Okay.
would you care to join us?
Hey,
I'll sneak over here.
You're a regular.
Okay, so make this as quick as we can.
That's a good start.
We sent out 460 plus postcards a couple weeks ago.
I even got one.
I got one.
And we received about 12 responses in various forms. Some of those were signs attached to telephone poles at the Guilford Country Store. Some were in emails, some were in telephone calls, some were,
Really?
some residents talking to other residents and so forth. I've talked with everyone who left a message or wanted to be called back and called them back and they called me back, or didn't, depending on what happens. And everybody has a wide degree of expressions of opinion. Some very thought out, some not so thought out and wrong in the general, facts and figures and things. But I think Wednesday night could be a well-attended meeting.
How many people did, reach out directly to you?
Nobody reached out directly to me.
You were reaching out.
Everybody went through Peter.
I
Said
see.
they either contacted Peter,
Gotcha.
or Peter got to me and
Thank
said this person wants a call back or something else.
Gotcha.
Everybody had a number before I called, and some called me back,
Thank you
and
for
some
doing
didn't.
that.
And somebody got in touch with me.
Right, and you and I
Yeah.
had a quick
Yeah.
conversation about some
Yeah.
of that.
And somebody got in
again,
touch with me.
The range of response is fantastic, number one, and it's also amazing, because
Yeah.
some are very thoughtfully done, some are more emotional, but it's a wide range of what we're gonna see.
Yep.
Mhm.
I think the most important thing we can do on Wednesday night is stick with exactly what we've always said it is, for this and Wyndham Solid Waste. It's a public meeting that's directly made for information sharing and to take public comment and opinion. And that I think the presentation should be first, and then the public comment second, so that
Yep.
you don't run into this question and that question and things like that, because you never get through the presentation, everybody gets up and leaves.
Right.
So that's how I'm gonna run the meeting.
Which is
once-
perfect.
Once I get a hold of it, okay?
Mhm.
The second thing, I now have a town email, I think all of you have that, at floodadmin@guilfordvermont.net.
Mhm.
Yep.
So if you have something that's germane to this meeting, or any of those issues, you should probably email me there. That way, if there's any issues
Right.
that come up, that's the main email, and we can all see
Mhm.
it and all reference it, and it's all controlled. Third, we had an excellent meeting today to officially form the Flood Hazard Review Board. Harry Evans, Susan Bounter, and Eric Morse agreed to be on the board after we reviewed their roles and responsibilities with John Bennett and excellent help from Peter. We handed out the public meeting
Open meeting
information,
law.
open meeting law stuff and everything else. They were,
Also
I
rules
thought,
of procedure.
yeah, I thought they were very enthusiastic about the whole thing.
That's awesome.
I agree.
I gave them the option to be introduced on Wednesday night as the flood hazard review board or not, and they all said yes, definitely.
Great.
So they want to stand and deliver to a reasonable degree. They're not opinionated one way or the other, but they're willing to take on their
Mhm.
role and responsibility.
That's wonderful.
The school's all set with help from John Gagnon and Steve Clark, the custodian, and Adrian St. Pierre at AV. We were gonna have the room set up the way it was for the Act 46 meeting. That had 50 chairs, then at the max of that room is 60. I told them to set it up today for 60, okay?
Mhm.
That milk machine will be shut off so it's not wailing away and all the rest of the stuff. We have AV from Adrian St. Pierre, we have a microphone. It's like a Mr. Mike, but nonetheless, it's a microphone. So if there is overflow and people are out in the ante room or something else, they can at least hear it. All right, so I think that's as under control as we can be. If we get a huge output, we'll have to do an abbreviated thing and schedule something else for, I don't know, gym or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something else. The agenda, I don't know if you had a chance to look through
Yeah.
the rough agenda. If you have any issues with it, let me know. I'm in close contact with John Roker Campbell, who's gonna do a slideshow on corridors and bits and pieces, and also on how to use the A&R Atlas. Because among other things, we're trying to get people to be resourceful on their own, so that if they just call me and say, I live at 12 Bird Street, am I in the floodplain? That's gonna be a little onerous on me, you know. The agenda's done, that's done, that's done. Oh, and the other thing that I wanted to share with you is these numbers came up today, the ones I just handed out here.
Yeah.
I haven't confirmed them entirely yet, but
Thank you, sir.
just to give this some perspective, I'm not saying it's small or large, but the total E911 structures in Guilford are 1,136. The total 911 structures in the special flood hazard area are 44. The total 911 structures in the river corridor are 78. So that means the percentage of 911 structures in the river corridor, which is what we're talking about on Wednesday night, is 7% of the total number of structures in the E911 format of the town.
Question.
Yes.
If you have a property with a structure way away from the river corridor, it's gonna show up as a structure on,
It's gonna
correct?
way away
All
from the
this.
river corridor.
Well, no, if it's on the, if you're part of the new, the new understanding of looking at the river corridors,
Right.
right? This includes the new,
This is the new.
this is the new. So
Right.
there's 78 affected properties.
Right now, there are 78 structures.
Structures or properties? That's what I'm,
Structures.
okay, so that's just structures.
Properties.
So properties is a whole nother,
Properties is
Thank
much
you.
larger
Okay.
in.
thank you, okay. Just
But
wanted to be
these are the
clear.
people who
Gotcha.
have a structure that's in the corridor, like my
Perfect.
house.
Yeah.
I have a question about this statement.
Which
the select board statement.
Oh, okay.
So, it doesn't refer to the bylaw that is now in effect, the bylaw of 2007.
It says we've had one in place for 40 years.
Right, but it doesn't say, I just was John Q. Public.
Yeah.
What is different between what we're proposing
You are
now?
going to be a happy man, because as soon as Veranda sits down, I'm going to be back to 1945 and
Okay,
1950.
so you're going to give us the history.
I'm going to give you the
Because that's going to
entirely
be a
history.
very important
Yes.
point, to what, because, and that's going to lower the temperature also.
I can just
We're
give you
saying
a-
we
I can
have
give you a
this
quick-
now, we're just making these changes to it, or it's proposing.
We
these
don't need
changes.
to, actually, we don't need to answer that
Okay,
question now,
right.
because I'm sure you will answer it in the
Right.
meeting, and I think
Right.
we're just gonna go
But I'm very
down
happy
that.
to hear that
Yes.
you are going to answer that.
There's going to be past, present, and future
Good.
down at the meeting.
Okay.
But, okay, so the additional 78 that you've listed here, that are a part of the river corridor, that is a 911 structure.
It's a-
not a garage.
No.
It's, okay,
No.
thank you.
It's a residence.
Residence.
So
thank
let
you,
me
that's
just
what I
be
wanted.
clear, the total 911 structures in the,
What I haven't clarified is whether the 44 is included in the
that's
78.
right.
I
Okay.
believe the 44 is included in the 78,
Okay.
because if you do the math, the 78 of 1136 comes out to .068. Brought it
Okay,
up to 7%.
Okay.
But anyway, these numbers are just for noodling, not
Okay,
necessarily.
fair enough.
But
No,
it gives you a
it's
little more
sense,
perspective that
right.
we're not talking about, and every
There's
one
a
of
lot
those
of people-
structures is grandfathered. You know, that's, the ones that are
Right.
there are not necessarily the issue.
Right,
It's
right.
what isn't there that somebody wants.
in the
to-
future.
So anyway, that's the plan now. And
I think that's
and
excellent.
what we'll do is, depending, you and I will regroup.
Yes,
once
we will.
Once we find out who's there for what reason, and
Mhm.
then we'll do it, and then after that, we'll schedule something, future.
Perfect.
Okay?
Well
And
done, Steve.
Sorry, before you go, Steve gave me good input on this. Is everybody happy with the
Yes.
select board
Yes.
statement?
I thought it was excellent.
Okay.
Thank you for
And
the
I'm prepared
time,
just
Well,
energy,
but-
and
but-
commitment
but-
to read
that
it.
you're putting into
I don't
the
think we
town.
need to. I think they can, can be one of those handouts. I would say that this is a
Oh, really?
handout. We don't need to waste time reading this stuff to people. Also, Peter, Steve,
Read which part?
this thing. The
The
select board statement, you don't think people?
I think,
I think
my
Steve
personal feeling
wanted
is that
it read.
a select board member, it's a select board meeting, it's a select board meeting, and I think a select board member should stand up and say, welcome, and I'm Veranda Porsche, and this is Richard, and this is Gordon. We're happy you're here. Thank you for your attention and everything else. There are 2 members missing, but because everybody can't be here tonight, we got together, we wanted to give you a little framework as to why
Okay.
we were considering this, and I'd like to just read a statement that all 5 of us have agreed on.
Okay, I thought it would be handed out because I thought it would be a good thing to have in hand. And so I think it should also be a
You can still
handout.
hand it out.
Okay.
I
Okay,
just think
then
you should.
let's make sure we have
Okay.
With
copies.
some, with some
Fine.
sincerity.
So, Sheila, do you understand? I don't mean to belabor the point, but my comment was in relation to this, which doesn't emphasize to me enough that, and I'm not asking for changes,
Mhm.
but if I were to change it, that there is a law in place, and that we're talking about amending that law, changing that law. And I think that is very important to have people understand. So,
I think it's fair to say Guilford has a long history of flood hazard,
yeah.
bylaws.
Okay, I think, it's not reinforced, but it does say we've had these for over 40 years. We are bringing these up to date and to be in compliance with current regulations.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that says
Both
that.
updates former versions and brings us into compliance
Good.
with the state law.
Okay, so that should be emphasized, that's all.
Yeah. That's an important, I'm going to go
State that
through
again.
this. I'm going to go through it with a yellow highlighter pen to have the parts, just vocally to emphasize certain parts, and you and I can check in together.
So right now, we are absolutely on schedule for our meeting.
Okay.
Well done,
Good, let's
Chair.
move along.
So, moving along to CC, thank you, Steve. And may it go well on Wednesday, everybody.
Yes.
I have a good feeling about it now.
Good. CC for G grant finalization. Mr. Root.
So, as I informed all of you, we have finally finished with this grant agreement with the state. So what we need, I shared the document with all of you for your perusal. So we need two things tonight, one of which is we need a signature by the chair of this board agreeing to this grant agreement. And we also need you as a select board as a whole and signatures from all of you agreeing to the grant agreement resolution. And that is, whereas the town of Guilford has applied for funding under the Vermont Community Development Program as provided in 10 VSA Chapter 29 and it received an award of funds under said provisions. And then it goes on, it lists the specific grant number that we have received, and therefore be it resolved that as the legislative body of this municipality accept and agree to the terms and conditions of this agreement, and we name Peder, town administrator, as a designated person with overall administrative responsibility for related to this grant agreement, and that Sheila Morse, the select board chair, who is either the CEO as defined by 10 VSA 683.8 or other
whatever.
roles, is designated as the authorizing official, which she already is. And so we need you guys
All right,
to...
pass it around.
Well, first,
You have to move to adopt this agreement resolution.
I so move.
Richard.
Oh, do I need to second it?
You
Gordon.
don't have to,
You
I'll
are-
second it, Miranda.
I'm still in the floodplain,
That's right.
in
All,
the weeds.
all in favor?
Aye.
I was being kind of, sorry.
Thank you. Route 5 speeding,
Do
Peter?
we have to sign this?
Yes.
Yes, you
everybody.
do.
We all have to sign this.
Okay, let's do it right now.
Who speeds on Route 5?
Excuse me, what did I hear? Something?
Route 5 speeding.
I apologize for the delay. Okay. I have received further complaints from town residents of very excessive speeding in both directions on Route 5 at the new bridge. And this is mainly informational, as was noted at the last select board meeting, that the Vermont State Police have put one of their mobile speed carts on the south side of the bridge going northward. Earlier this summer, we had one on the southbound lane, and this is part of the process in which we are gathering information in order to do other things about the speeding. At the moment, because Route 5 is a state route,
Right.
the town doesn't have a lot of options for this issue besides asking for the state police
Raising it, right.
to either raise the speed limit and...
No, I didn't mean raise the speed limit. I meant
Yeah,
raise
that's-
the issue with the
Oh,
state police
yes,
so that
which
they
we
can
have done.
address it. Right.
Yeah, so we have done that. They are aware of it. They are using more of their allotted monthly hours to patrol that section. But part of the thing is we are looking into the possibility of putting up permanent radar speed feedback signs, which we've all seen them. Those are those little signs. They're unobtrusive, but when you drive past it, it flashes up a number and says, this is your speed.
Right.
By state law, they cannot flash at you, they cannot have bright lights, it has to be very plain and simple, there's approved units. But in order to apply, for the town to apply for a permit from V-Trans requesting the use of those, we have to have hard data to support the need for them. So part of that process is having somebody like the state police collect this data from a mobile speed cart, analyze it, and submit that to us. So we already have the data for the southbound lane, which you guys saw earlier in the year. There was even one person who was caught going 76 miles an hour at that point. So people are speeding.
I wouldn't even go that fast.
So we've had numerous complaints since that time, particularly people going northbound. So this is basically information for the public to know that we are aware of the situation, and we're unfortunately, the steps that are needed take time. But it is a concern for the select board, and we are working with the Vermont State Police to take steps to stop this.
Great,
Gotcha.
thank you.
Even though it's a state road, that would have to come within our patrol monthly numbers.
That is correct.
Gotcha, thank you.
It is only the interstate that does not impact our contract with them.
Wonder if anyone in V-Trans saw that potential happening of increased speed because they took out the corner. You know, they did a few things that allow that.
Yep.
Just curious. Thank you.
35 all the way down through there?
No, in the section, several hundred feet before the bridge on the south side, and just before you get to the country store on the north side, it reduces down to 25 for about a quarter-mile section
Through the village.
through the village center. And that's the specific area which people are complaining about. And unfortunately, 2 of the complaints that I got last week also included that our road crew is going a little bit too fast through that area as well. And one of the people who complained said she has 2 young children and a pet, and she said she does not feel comfortable with her kids or pet going outside at this point in time, and not specifically because of the road crew, but because of all of the speeding.
Wow.
It's a valid issue.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention.
I have not as of yet.
I think you should probably do that.
I think that
Thank
would
you.
be prudent.
Okay, thank you very much for keeping us on track there. So I had said that I wanted to add
Thank you, Steve.
a small comment about fiscal management before we deal with the warrants. Did I say that?
Yeah.
Yes.
You did at the very
Okay,
beginning of
thank
the
you.
meeting.
So, and this has come up in terms of the annual fund transfer and how we're looking at different funds and things like that. So, and Gabby has been asking some really good questions. We did ask a few weeks ago in an email, and so I've been following up with Pete Hetzel, and Penny, in a couple of different meetings, one last week and one today, to look at. Originally, we thought, what is good fiscal cash flow management? Like, we have our ledger, whatever that is here. And we know where we are in terms of our budget and our expenses, and ostensibly if we took budget and expenses and we saw how much we had left on income, that we would know that we could authorize $7,000 or $62,000 worth of warrants and we'd be pretty comfortable. But there are different, we could get a funds statement once a month and to know where we are in our terms of our funds and if we're going to have to be using that. We could have a something like a multiple different reports that we can't quite figure out yet if we can get out of NEMRIC. That would be a profit and a loss or just a general cash flow management. And we have been the beneficiary in the last many years, several years, of not needing to draw on a line of credit between July 1st and October 15th because we manage our budget to carefully so that we don't have to have a line of credit. And we pretty much take it on faith that the invoices that we are presented with, we have sufficient funds because we know we have a lot of funds in the bank, but we don't really know that for sure on a month-to-month basis or on a weekly basis. So one of the things that I talked about with Pete Hetzel today was whether in one of our budget workshops we could invite, if we have the time, somebody from NEMRIC to come and help us figure out what is good fiscal management, what is good cash flow management. Are we doing the maximum that we can do as a town, as a select board, to make sure that we are in a very secure position? And we're going to be working on getting that done.
So we don't have now a monthly year-to-date that shows.
We have our general ledger.
That's what this is.
That's what this is.
But if you look at, this is the highway, where's the other one? But if you look at that, right here, I'm sorry. You'll see that we have, as of November 27th, $4,888,000 in revenues. And we have had $528,000 in expenses. So ostensibly, we have $4,500,000 in the bank. But we don't, because we sent out $3,100,000 to BOHS and the Guilford Central School. And that's not reflected because that's not part of our budget. That's a different budget passed by the town. So
That makes it
So we're
complication.
talking about the interface between our select board budget and the town budget.
And the town, and
how to.
yes.
How to better understand.
How to make sure that we really know where
Right.
everything is the way it should be. I mean, we assume that it is because we have such good checks and balances, and the auditors do not ask us to do to take any extra steps. You know, they
Mhm.
you know, we are in good, we have a good system as far as our auditors are concerned, and we
Yeah.
do.
Oh, by the way, if I can interrupt, this is very apropos, but I had a conversation with the auditors last week, finalizing the details that we had discussed long ago. And at this point, they have no major findings.
So that's
But with
good.
Pete,
for the
and
town.
for me, with talking to Pete Hetzel and my understanding of his expertise, I've been very comfortable with him, you know, the process that is currently in place, doing it this way. But additional information, I think, would be helpful.
But Pete said today that he did not know how to answer some of my questions.
Right.
And so he said, we need to, he thinks that it would be very helpful to have a
Right.
conversation with a NEMRIC representative for the select board, and he's so thrilled that the select board is attentive, you know, paying attention to this and asking these questions, because he feels like it's gonna only be to the town's benefit to
Sure.
have this.
I think we should tell our town audience what NEMRIC is.
Go right ahead. It's our
I mean,
town
what does
accounting.
it stand for?
New England, New England Municipal Resource Center. They are the company that has created the software that we use for our fund accounting.
Okay.
And it's
I mean, I
incredibly
knew what it
complex.
was, but I thought we shouldn't use abbreviations.
And this
that-
one can't be expanded to
This
be-
can be expanded, and
Yeah,
Peter's
it is.
working on it. It's like one of
Yes.
those things.
Something that I've created.
But
that's
that
not
he has to
something-
pull out.
That's
He-
Right,
he
but
can't
you
run
could
a
pull out
report
those other
memory.
numbers and put them on here, right?
Yeah, but we should be able to maybe do it through the accounting system, so that it's
That'd
not
be a
a.
lot of extra work.
Right.
Peter.
What you don't want is,
No.
you want a system that can produce the information that you need. You don't want to go and manipulate that information in a different
Right, we don't want to
set
make
form.
oranges out of apples.
Or
But you also don't
have a
know that it's
decimal
true.
error.
Hmm?
We don't know that it's true. I mean,
Right. Yeah,
Okay, one last question is, do we have Peter Hetzel continuing to work for our town at the level that he is now?
he's working one day a week, yeah.
Yeah, but for
Yeah.
the foreseeable future,
Yes.
he will give us 1 day a week? Okay. No, I just didn't
So
know
far, he seems.
whether we were going to be left more on our own devices.
oh heavens, no.
Okay,
We don't know.
all right.
So I think we could move on to warrants.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to pay the following warrants. Payroll, week ending 11/19/17 for $5,143.17. Payroll week ending 11/26/17 for $9,637.39. Expense warrant number 1810 for $7,027.39. Expense warrant 1811 for $123. And expense warrant number 10FW for $4,044.96 for a grand total of $25,975.91.
What was the 123 for?
Fish and Wildlife.
Fish and Wildlife.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I second the
What
motion.
was unanticipated, did you say? Was there one of them?
No, nothing, I mean, nothing stood out in the $7,000 expense, the
Okay.
$7,000 expense warrant,
I
or the
second.
$4,000 expense warrant that was
Okay.
significant at all. Everything was very standard.
Is there a second?
I did.
Richard seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There are 5 documents to sign, everybody.
Okay, are these they?
Here are 2. Let me just, let's go
Go
this way.
around in order,
Yeah.
so there's no confusion.
Let's not get confused.
Wait a minute. How many in here, 2 you said? Oh, just the right one. And then you can put it back in the envelope.
Okay.
Ian loves it when we sit here and sign documents while his battery's running.
But I don't love it when you guys leave without signing them.
Right. There were, do we need to tell, Penny also just shared with us that there are 1, 2, 3, 4 more
That's correct.
incidents of tax adjustments, so that the state downloaded to us, same like we had last time, and they totaled $304, 2003, $100 and $1,100. So either tax overpayments to the town. So that's just for our information.
And did you sign the payroll as well as the regular warrants?
I think the payrolls and the.
3.
And just for your information, regarding the statement I made at the beginning of the meeting about the one unexpected expense.
Oh, right.
So warrant 10WS for $4,044.96. That was an unanticipated expense by the highway department and was separated out as a specific warrant for your attention, just so you're aware of it. So,
Oh, I didn't understand.
yeah, so as Dan has been talking about for a good 6 months now, one of his large digital electronic signs that he can put up.
Oh,
on
right,
the road,
right.
the computer chip in it got fried.
Yep.
And the short story is this was the cost to replace that computer chip on that sign.
Crazy.
It's better than paying $19,000 for a brand new one.
Yeah.
I get it.
And because it was an unplanned expense in his budget, he made the request for it to
Fair.
come out of the capital fund. And one of the main purposes, not only, but one of the main purposes of the capital fund is to account for
Unanticipated.
Unanticipated expenses.
And so that's why it was set out as a different
Thank you for
warrant.
clarifying that.
Was because it came out of a very different
Mhm.
budget item than is normally used.
And I will say that it's not just the highway department that uses it. We use it
Correct.
to remind people to go vote, et
Public
cetera.
service.
So-
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
there's many
No, I-
reasons for it.
I agree.
But I just wanted to make sure
That's
that
what-
you as a select board were aware
Thank
that
you.
it was
Well
atypical.
Well done. No,
Do we need a motion to go into executive
Yes, we do.
session?
Yes,
Thank you.
I so move.
Would you like to read that? So, and the time is exactly 8:15.
I move to enter into executive session at 8:15 PM for personnel matters and contract discussions.
Nope, no contract discussion,
Oh,
sorry.
Personnel
For
matters.
personnel
Personnel.
matters, per 1 VSA
1,
1313A1.
yep, perfect.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
So I think we
We'll
should
go,
move to
yeah.
the other room so
Perfect.
Peter can work. And
Okay.
Thank you, Ian.
come back, exit executive session at 9:47. 8:47. With no actions taken, and I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:47.
I second the motion.
No, you have to.
You have to be.
You provide the
Please.
motion. I'll make the motion to
Thank you,
adjourn.
Gordon.
Richard.
And he's going to second the motion.
I'm going to second the motion.
And
Any
I
discussion?
shall.
No, I think we should just.
All in favor?
We're out of here.
Thank you, meeting adjourned at
That's right,
8:48.
and I hope our studio audience is adequately
Laughing
amused.
as well as the rest of
Gordon
us.
moved at 8:47 and Miranda seconded.
Richard seconded.
I did.
Richard
Oh,
seconded.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.